do you listen to a whole album, pick a single, shoot a video, then don't know? Okay, I see what's really good. You're trying to eliminate the competition. You know, because at first you retire, then get me off the label, now you're back rapping again. Okay.
He was so competitive with me. I never met a human being more competitive with me, like ever, not even my big brother.
Crazy! Crazy! Like,
what happened, man? Like, he was over there for years.
Cats playing games, so I'm going raw. Run up in that f***ing building and kick down the door. Y'all don't want no problems with X. Y'all want to see them four-legged beasts with them collars on their necks.
The feud between DMX and Jay-Z is a classic tale of friends turning into foes. These two rap legends went from touring and rapping together. To a full-blown public fallout that got messy.
Crazy! Crazy!
And for once, Jay-Z wasn't the one coming out on top. In fact, word on the street is that Jay was so intimidated by DMX's raw energy and talent that he resorted to some sneaky moves to push DMX out of the spotlight and claim the shine for himself.
How do you listen to a whole album, pick a single, shoot a video, then don't know? Okay, I see what's really good. You're trying to eliminate the competition. You know, because at first you retire.
Of course, DMX wasn't the type to let something like that slide. True to his character, he made sure everyone knew what was going on and publicly called out Jay-Z on what he saw as pure BS.
Like, what happened, man? Like, he was over there for years.
Cats playing games, so I'm going raw. Run up in that f***ing building and kick down the door. Y'all don't want no problems with X. Y'all want to see them four-legged beasts with them collars on their necks.
DMX wasn't afraid to speak his mind, and he wasn't one to back down. Some people even say the beef could have gone way further because DMX wasn't someone to play with. Industry insiders have often described DMX as a genuinely dangerous guy when provoked.
What was it like being around DMX?
DMX was dangerous, man. When you around him, he's like, you don't know what's gonna happen. You know what I mean? Very unpredictable.
While Jay-Z had that polished, upscale, I'm getting rich flow, DMX came with pure, gritty street energy. And DMX's street credibility wasn't just for show. Over his lifetime, he was locked up more than 30 times.
Rapper DMX has been arrested in the upstate again, according to Greer police. Police say they arrested DMX, whose real name is Earl.
DMX was arrested in South Carolina on a warrant.
This ain't no normal traffic stop. This ain't no normal traffic stop.
And good morning, Your Honor. Glenn Allen appearing on behalf of Mr. Simmons, who is present in custody, standing to my left. Good morning.
Also, one thing most people don't know, he pulled off a daring escape from a juvenile detention facility when he was just 15. That's not something you hear about every day, and even the toughest gangsters today might struggle to pull off something like that. So imagine thinking you could cross a man like that and get away with it. There's a lot to unpack here, so let's dive deeper into what really went down. DMX and Jay-Z had a lot of battles back in the early 90s, so it was only a matter of time before the two of them went head-to-head. Their first major clash happened in 1993 at a small pool hall in the Bronx. This wasn't just some casual rap session either. It was a serious battle.
We met battling. That's how we met. We was in the Bronx in the pool hall.
Big L even tried to record the event, but unfortunately he only managed to capture Jay-Z's part of the performance. Two people who witnessed the showdown, Ski Beats and Wah Dean, co-founder of Rough Riders, shared what went down. Wah described it as a battle of styles, saying, Jay-Z spoke more while DMX flowed more. Ski added that it was both rappers in their purest forms, Jay-Z, the smooth-talking hustler, and DMX, the raw and gritty street poet. As for who won, well, that depends on who you ask. Both camps claimed victory, which is typical for rap battles. DMX himself reflected on the moment in his 2002 autobiography, Earl, saying things got intense when their crews started hyping them up. He admitted it was a close battle, which wasn't his style. I don't like my battles to be close, he wrote, explaining that close calls always left room for debates about who really won. After that, things between the two got awkward, according to Rough Riders co-founder D. This battle planted the seeds for tension that would grow over the years.
We called it a draw because they both was nice, so we said, all right, it's a draw. X felt like he won, Hov gonna feel like he win. So it was an animosity there Always.
In 1994, while DMX was making waves in the underground scene, Suge Knight tried to sign him to Death Row Records as part of his plans for Death Row East. However, DMX wasn't feeling the deal and walked out of the meeting. Around the same time, Jay-Z was hustling hard, selling CDs out of his car after being rejected by major labels. With no other options, Jay teamed up with Damon Dash and Kareem Burke to create their own label, Rockefeller Records, in 1994. Jay dropped his debut album Reasonable Doubt on June 25, 1996. It didn't blow up right away, selling just 43,000 copies in its first week, but over time, it became a classic and is now considered one of the greatest hip-hop albums of all time. Meanwhile, in May 19, 97, DMX finally landed a deal with Def Jam, thanks to his close friend Irv Gotti. Around the same time, Jay-Z also signed a distribution deal with Def Jam and released his sophomore album In My Lifetime Volol, one later that year. Then, in May 19, 98, DMX dropped his debut studio album It's Dark and Hell Is Hot. It was a game changer. The album sold an incredible 251,000 copies in its first week, debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200, and included hits like Rough Riders Anthem. DMX was officially the hottest rapper in the world.
Snitches wanna try, snitches wanna lie, the snitches wonder why, snitches wanna die.
With DMX's meteoric rise, people began speculating that Jay-Z might have felt a little jealous. X was blowing up, and Jay was still climbing the ladder. The tension only grew when DMX landed a starring role alongside Nas in the movie Belly later that year. Rumor has it, Jay-Z was originally considered for DMX's role, but the directors decided X was the better fit. Despite the growing tension, Jay-Z and DMX still collaborated. On September 29, 1998, Jay released his third album, Volume 2, Hard Knock Life, which included their first major collab, Money Cash H's. The album sold 350,000 copies in its first week, but DMX wasn't slowing down. On December 22, 1998, he dropped his second album, Flesh of My Flesh, Blood of My Blood, which sold an insane 670,000 copies in its first week. This made DMX the first rapper ever to release 2 albums in the same year that both debuted at #1. Jay-Z even featured on the track Blackout. On the surface, it looked like they were cool, but behind the scenes, their egos were clashing. Both of them were at the top of their game, and neither wanted to take a back seat. In 1999, DMX and Jay-Z found themselves on the same stage during the Hard Knock Life tour, a major event that also featured Ja Rule. Backstage, a moment of camaraderie and competition was captured when DMX and Jay-Z freestyled together on film.
Drop the price of the cocaine, throw the competition out, let the dough flow in.
Niggas is paid, that's just how it is. When my time is up, I'm gonna be out with them, I'm gonna try to live.
It was a clear display of their talent and hinted at the competitive energy between them. Years later, in 2021, Jay-Z reflected on this rivalry during an episode of HBO's The Shop, describing just how intense things got between them during this period.
He was so competitive with me. I never met a human being more competitive with me, like ever, not even my big brother.
That same year, the two rappers, along with J. Rule, formed a supergroup called It was a bold idea, 3 of hip-hop's biggest names uniting to dominate the industry. However, the group was short-lived, and it wasn't hard to see why. For starters, DMX had beef with Ja Rule, accusing him of copying his signature style. On top of that, DMX and Jay-Z's egos clashed in a major way. Both wanted to be the leader, and neither was willing to back down. By 1999, DMX wasn't just a top rapper, he was the biggest artist in the world. His legendary performance at Woodstock '99 cemented his status, with tens of thousands of fans chanting his lyrics in unison. This level of success reportedly didn't sit well with Jay-Z. Watching DMX outshine him was bound to stir up some tension. It set the stage for what was to come in the following years. By 2001, things began to heat up. According to Nas, Jay-Z had privately dismissed DMX as an overrated MC, suggesting that X wasn't as talented as people thought. Word of this reached DMX, and he wasn't about to let it slide. On August 7, 2001, Jadakiss dropped his debut album, Kiss, The Game Goodbye. On the track Unhun, DMX delivered a subliminal diss aimed at Jay-Z, saying he had crowned Jay as the King of New York, only to take it back by shooting the crown off his head.
I only gave you the crown so I could shoot it off your fucking head. Y'all fuck dead. You heard what the I said.
Jay-Z didn't respond, and the beef seemed to fizzle out, at least on the surface. DMX often said he respected Jay-Z, even recalling their first battle at the Bronx Pool Hall with a sense of nostalgia. But things took a darker turn in 2004 when Jay-Z was named president of Def Jam. This was a pivotal moment. At the time, DMX was preparing to release his 6th studio album, originally titled Here We Go Again. Jay-Z, now in charge of Def Jam, had the power to shape the album's rollout. According to DMX, Jay-Z picked the lead single, and X went ahead and shot the music video. But when it came time to finalize the release, Jay-Z became elusive. He went on vacation and avoided making decisions about the album, leaving DMX in limbo.
What happened was, like I said, I had the crazy track record of Def Jam, everything was good. I go to do the 6th album, and,
Jay-Z became president.
Over. Yeah. Finish the album, shoot the video. So what happened? Go on vacation and, we don't know.
To DMX, it felt like sabotage. He believed Jay-Z was intentionally stalling his project to eliminate the competition.
How do you listen to a whole album, pick a single, shoot a video, then don't know? Okay, I see what's really good. You're trying to eliminate the competition.
This wasn't just paranoia. DMX was convinced that Jay had always been envious of his success, especially during his peak years in the late 90s. By dragging out the album's release, Jay-Z effectively offed DMX's momentum. Frustrated and fed up, DMX left Def Jam in January 2006 and signed with Columbia Records. He rebranded his project as Year of the Dog, again, a nod to the Chinese zodiac. The album finally dropped on August 1st, 2006, selling 126,000 copies in its first week. While those numbers were respectable, it was DMX's first album not to debut at #1 on the Billboard 200. For X, it felt like the damage had already been done. Jay-Z's interference had worked. Later that same year, Jay-Z came out of retirement, releasing his comeback album, Kingdom Come, on November 21st, 2006. The timing wasn't lost on DMX, who saw it as another calculated move. To him, it was no coincidence that Jay decided to return to music right after his momentum had been derailed.
At first you retire, then get me off the label, now you're back rapping again. Okay.
After all the ups and downs, DMX took a long hiatus from music as legal troubles continued to pile up. Despite stepping away from the spotlight, he would occasionally reflect on his history with Jay-Z in interviews. One notable instance came on August 16, 2011, when Tape Masters Inc. released the mixtape I'm On 1 Part 2. The project featured the track Otis Freestyle, where DMX and Busta Rhymes rapped over the beat from Jay-Z and Kanye West's hit song Otis. While the track didn't directly address their feud, it was a subtle nod to the unresolved tension between the two. For years, the beef seemed to fade into the background, but it never completely disappeared. In April 20th, 16, DMX appeared on Drink Champs, where he briefly revisited his first ever battle with Jay-Z at the Bronx Pool Hall. With his signature confidence, DMX claimed victory in that battle, proudly stating he had never lost a battle in his life.
Who won that battle? Respect for?
Who won that battle? Okay,
I've never lost a battle. I've never lost a battle. I've never lost a battle.
A couple of months later, on June 28, 2016, DMX sat down for an interview with The Breakfast Club. When asked if he had spoken to Jay-Z since their feud, or if he would ever reconcile with him, DMX's answer was simple: no. However, later that year, in October 20th, 16, something unexpected happened. At Beyoncé's grand finale of her Formation World Tour at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey, DMX, Jay-Z, and J. Rule were all spotted together backstage. DJ Khaled was reportedly the one who orchestrated this reunion, bringing the former rivals together. Fast forward to May 20th, and the tension between DMX and Jay-Z resurfaced once again. On May 7th, during a virtual edition of the Drink Champs podcast, DMX was asked who he'd like to face in a versus battle. Without a moment's hesitation, he said, Jay-Z. A few weeks later, a video surfaced of DMX on the phone, listing potential versus opponents and doubling down on his challenge to Jay-Z. He even referred to Jay as his arch nemesis.
Yeah, that's the Drink Champs.
Don't say that. Don't say that. Don't say that.
Okay, well, go ahead. Huh? I'd rather go with, my arch nemesis.
Unfortunately, this renewed energy didn't last long. On April 9th, 2021, DMX tragically passed away, leaving behind a legacy that forever shaped hip-hop. His death marked the end of any possibility of a true reconciliation or another collaboration between him and Jay-Z. It's a shame, really, because the music they could have created together would have been legendary. But while the rivalry with Jay-Z added intrigue to DMX's story, it wasn't the primary reason his career faltered. Many believe DMX's greatest battle wasn't with Jay-Z or any other rapper, but with himself. His struggles with addiction were well documented and deeply impactful. Throughout his life, DMX was arrested over 30 times for a wide range of offenses, including criminal possession of a weapon, robbery, escalates, carjacking, animal reckless driving, driving under the influence, unlicensed driving, drug possession, probation violations, failure to pay child support, impersonating a federal agent, and even tax evasion.
Rapper DMX has been arrested in the upstate again, according to Greer police. Police say they arrested DMX, whose real name is Earl.
DMX's legal troubles span nearly his entire life and career, making him one of the most arrested rappers in hip-hop history. It all started back in 1986 when a young DMX was sent to prison for the first time after stealing a dog from a junkyard. He served a few months in the juvenile unit at Woodfield Prison in Valhalla, New York. Later that same year, he was sentenced to 2 years for another crime and sent to the Industry Institution in upstate New York. However, DMX wasn't one to take confinement lightly. Just a few days into his sentence, he and his cellmate pulled off a daring escape. He returned home, but his freedom was short-lived. His mother, in a tough love move, forced him to turn himself back in to finish his sentence. This time, he served the remainder at McCormick Juvenile Detention Center in Brooktondale, New York. By 1988, DMX was in trouble again, this time for carjacking. His behavior landed him in a higher security prison after he attempted to extort another inmate for drugs. These early run-ins with the law set the stage for a life often disrupted by legal issues. In 1999, DMX faced an animal cruelty charge after a dozen pit bulls were found at his Teaneck, New Jersey home. The charge was eventually dismissed, but only after he agreed to take responsibility and record public service announcements for an animal rights group. A year later, he served 15 days in jail for marijuana possession. By 2001, DMX was back in jail again for driving without a license and possessing marijuana. In January 2002, he pleaded guilty in New Jersey to 13 counts of animal cruelty, along with charges of maintaining a nuisance, disorderly conduct, and drug paraphernalia possession. One of DMX's more infamous incidents happened in June 2004 at John F. Kennedy International Airport. He was arrested on multiple charges, including coke possession, criminal impersonation, possession of a weapon, and attempting to carjack a vehicle while pretending to be a federal agent. It was a headline-grabbing moment that cemented his reputation as someone who lived as recklessly as he rapped. By 2005, DMX was sentenced to 70 days at Rikers Island for violating parole, and an additional 10 days were tacked on after he refused to show up on time.
Rapper DMX will be spending the next 6 months in jail for violating his probation, and a judge has also ordered him to undergo a mental health evaluation.
In 2008, DMX was arrested in Arizona on drug and animal cruelty charges after barricading himself inside his home. This arrest stemmed from an earlier 2007 raid where police found drugs and evidence of animal. By December 2008, DMX pleaded guilty to drug possession, theft, and animal cruelty charges, earning a 90-day jail sentence. His legal woes didn't stop there. In May 2009, he pleaded guilty to attempted aggravated assault while in jail, adding to his already extensive criminal record. DMX's struggles with the law and addiction continued into the 2010. After violating drug probation in 2010, he served 4 out of 6 months in jail before being released in July of that year. There was even an attempt to film a television pilot about his road to recovery, but it never materialized because DMX was arrested again just 3 weeks later. The year 2013 proved to be one of his most tumultuous years, with multiple arrests throughout. By 2015, his legal troubles became even more complex. On April 5th, a man accused DMX of robbing him. In June, he was arrested again, this time in New York, and charged with robbery and failure to pay child support. A month later, in July, he was sentenced to 6 months in jail for failing to pay $400,000 in child support. That December, an arrest warrant was issued after he missed a court hearing related to child support disputes with his ex-wife, Tashara Simmons, and their 4 children. Then came the federal tax fraud charges in July 20th, 2017, which marked one of the more serious legal battles of his life. DMX was accused of failing to file income tax returns between 2010 and 2015, during which he earned at least $2.3 million. He pleaded guilty to 1 count of tax fraud in November 20th, 17. While awaiting sentencing, he was remanded to jail in January 20th, 18 after relapsing on coke and oxycodone, violating the court-ordered drug treatment program. By March, he was sentenced to a year in prison, 3 years of supervised release, and ordered to pay $2.29 million in restitution. DMX was finally released from prison on January 25, 2019, but the years of legal trouble, addiction, and personal struggles had already taken a significant toll. Despite everything, his fans never doubted his raw talent and the realness he brought to his music. Though his career and personal life were often overshadowed by his arrests, DMX's legacy as a rap icon remained.